If you picture rows of terraced houses, Coronation Street, you're probably not too far off. The people there are the absolute salt of the earth. They'll do anything for you. Now then, my name's Brad, I'm a Christian and I'm unapologetically Northern. So I grew up as a non-Christian. I grew up in the northwest of England, just outside Manchester. I was born and raised in a small old coal mining town. It's probably pretty typical of most places up in the north. It was built on the coal industry, and as soon as that went, that was sort of the death blow for the town. But it was home, people worked hard, people did what they needed to do. I always wanted to move away from that. We just felt that the rest of the country didn't really want us. My dad left when I was young, but we learned to handle tough situations at a younger age. It wouldn't be till I was older and looking back, which I realised not everyone had the same experience of school I did, where I realised the odd fight once a week wasn't something that happened everywhere else. I don't think I'd ever have called myself working class if you only use labels. I'd never have considered that as a thing, but I was fortunate enough to go to university. It was obvious very quickly that I felt like the odd one out. I felt like the only one who'd had my sort of upbringing, my sort of background, who went to my sort of school. It was something I noticed, and over time begins to dig away at your identity. What is it? Who am I? What is my upbringing? My identity is my current situation, my identity. I can distinctly remember, and I'm not too ashamed to admit, going home maybe 6 months into university and just breaking down. My mum. I feel so out of place there. It wasn't that I wasn't qualified. It wasn't that I wasn't as good at the subject as my peers or the people around me. I felt effectively like this poor kid from the northwest who didn't really belong there, and people were just tolerating even silly things like my accent, the way I speak. No, it is funny, I'm not going to hide that, but there's only so many times you can hear the joke. There's only so many times you can have someone from the home counties imitate your accent before it starts to get to you. I think it was the first time I'd ever felt unwanted. I've not been down this way in ages. This is weird. So I studied chemistry here at the University of Leeds, just up the road. Here is the least helpful building in Leeds University. Student services, you go there to be told that you can do it online. Something I didn't stand in a queue for half an hour to do. I take it all back. Can't be using evidence against me. I think I always believed that God existed. I found it hard to believe that this world around us existed without something or someone creating it. I had no idea what the Bible said. I had no idea who this guy called Jesus was. I had no interest in following him. I wasn't exposed to church, I didn't go to church, and the church definitely wasn't speaking to me, so it made me think that I wouldn't be welcome in that building anyway. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't have walked through that door on my own accord. I was struggling. I think I'd done some stupid things which I'm not proud of. I take full responsibility for them, but for the first time I was in a situation where I knew I'd messed up, and I knew it wasn't just the things on the bad list, which I like doing, but there were consequences to my actions. I didn't realise that I could sink to that I'd actually be able to do things that would hurt other people. And I think for the first time in my life, I realised that I couldn't blame my circumstance, I couldn't blame my upbringing. So for whatever reason, I broke down alone, 19 years old, in my room and started to pray. I just asked if there was a God listening to what I had to say, that he'd have some pity on me, because I needed him to be real and I needed him to help me more than ever before. And for the first time in my life, I probably meant what I was saying. I woke up the next day, a group of people stopped us. No, they were honest, and they just said, listen, we're from the Christian Union at Leeds University, and we're Christians, we believe in the Bible, and we just want to share with students on campus. But if it wasn't for the prayer the night before, I'd have probably told him where he could go in less polite terms. I think it was the first time anyone had ever stopped me and said they wanted to do that. I don't remember being too polite. He invited me to a meeting, and For whatever reason, I remember just hearing the guy start to speak, and he was reading from a part of the Bible called Matthew chapter 9, verse 12. Jesus is eating with sinners and tax collectors, and they're people that the religious elite say he shouldn't be. So they challenge him and say, Jesus, you're meant to be this man of God. And they say to his disciples, why are you eating with these sinners, these bad people who don't deserve to be in your presence? And I remember this is where my ears perked up. Jesus hears them, he turns around, and he responds, it's not the healthy who need the doctor, but the sick. I've not come for the righteous, I've come for sinners. I remember hearing that and thinking, that is not the Christianity that I thought I knew growing up. I remember that's turned my world on its head, my view of what Christianity was, my view of what Jesus was. You're telling me he's come for people who are broken and know they're broken. Now, if that's true, that's the best thing I will ever hear. And yet, if it is true, why has it taken 19 years for me to hear it? Why have I grown up into a young adult and never heard this message before? Why is it you all seem to know about it, and this is the first time it's ever entered my ears? That Sunday I went along to a church in Leeds, Redeemer Church up in Headingley, and to hear the gospel that there was no one else to blame, there was no circumstance or upbringing to blame but myself. And yet Jesus says, I'll take that anyway. I'll take the punishment you deserve for what you've done. He is the treasure which I hold dear. Even when my life doesn't reflect that, I can know that he is faithful. I knew that I was saved by Jesus and Jesus alone, but everybody else is wearing chinos and everybody else likes coffee bars. I hate those things. We're in the centre of Leeds. I'm the only one with a northern accent. Is that a problem? Is that something I'm doing wrong? Why is it I look around and the vast majority of us are university educated and middle class? How are people to believe if they've not heard? And I look back and thought about the town I grew up in. Part of the reason I never heard the gospel until I was 19 is because no one told me. It's a different thing to be in the pub every week with people, in the chippy every week, chatting to the people on the street, the same people you see day in, day out. It's a start. It's me and the housemate, two Christians who love Jesus in a community where not many other people do. I felt it was wrong to just do this from the sidelines, to sit in a different part of the city, talking about the problem, praying about the problem, but not really doing a whole lot. I think there is a sense of community which is different about Alnley. It's you walk down the high street and there's lots of people there. You see the same faces every week. This isn't a very working class piece of kit, just for your video. It's got different challenges to other parts of the city. People set in the ways. A lot of times people have been here for generations, their parents, their grandparents. They already have their friends, and we realised that it doesn't happen overnight. First time I moved here, I've been here about a week, and it was the Rugby League Challenge Cup final. I went in the pub on my own because I'd only just got here, and within 5 minutes I was on a table full of people. We're in it for the long haul. We're not just going to drop out and disappear. This is where we live, this is our home. The importance of that is that we're living among people. God will honour. He asks us to be faithful. He's asking us to live out his gospel in our lives, to be faithful and do what we say we believe, to live as light and salt in the world. I believe that local church is the best thing we can do. Paul didn't say, blessed are the feet of those who good news for no reason. It's because it is good news. That's it.